Hi guys, so I am doing the solving by the quadratic formula. So this is our fourth way of solving a quadratic. But before we get into learning the fourth way of solving a quadratic, I'm going to have you guys warm up by solving each quadratic using the given method. So solve each quadratic in the warm-up using the given method. I am just going to write the answers, so go ahead and pause me before I write the answers. So your answers on the first one should be x equals 5 and x equals 3. On the second one, it should be x equals -1. And on the third one, I got some decimals for us, and that is x equals -6.541 and x equals -0.459. Okay, so this time we are learning about the quadratic formula. And the quadratic formula is x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And that is using a, b, and c from standard form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And I just realized there's a mistake. That b or that c should be an x. Make that c an x. Cross that c out. That c should be an x. And this way and method of solving can be used anytime. So the first thing it has for us, and it says find a, b, and c for f of x equal to -3x squared plus 2x plus 1. So we have a is equal to -3, b is 2, and c is 1. Go ahead and flip that page. So it asks us to solve x squared plus 8x plus 7 equals 0, then to check your answer using decimals. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to find our a, b, and c. This is going to make it a lot easier whenever we go to plug it into that equation. So our a is 1, our b is 8, and our c is 7. So we then want to take our quadratic formula, which is x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And this now equals -8 plus or minus the square root of 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 7 all over 2 times 1, which is just 2. So I'm just going to write 2. We can then plug all of that work into our calculator, and we get -8 plus or minus the square root of 36 all over 2, which then gives us -8 plus or minus 6 over 2, and -8 divided by 2 is -4 plus or minus 6 divided by 2, which is 3. That plus or minus then breaks into -4 plus 3 and -4 minus 3. So we get x equals -1 and x equals -7. Go ahead and take a moment and plug the equation in to check our work. Check our answer. Okay, well, I'm glad you checked our work, and let's go on to example 2. So I'm going to stay with our same method where we write down A, B, and C. But first, we might notice that this is not in standard form. And we want x squared minus 10x plus 25 equals 0. So this is going to make sure that our A, B, and C are correct. So our A equals 1, our B equals negative 10, and our C equals 25. And so we get x equals negative b, which is negative 10, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is negative 10, minus 4 times 1 times 25. All over 2 times 1, which is just 2. We can then plug everything into our calculator, and we get negative 1 times a negative 10, which is 10, plus or minus the square root of 0, all over 2. And so we get 10 over 2, which is 5. So x equals 5. Let's go ahead and pause me and check our answers using Desmos. Okay, great. I'm glad you checked it. So the next problem, it says find the solutions to negative 7 equal to 7x squared, then check your answer using Desmos. So the first thing we want to do is, of course, get everything to one side, and it doesn't matter if you move the 7x squared or the negative 7, you will get the same answer. So I'm going to move the negative 7, and so I get 0 equals 7x squared plus 7. So we have A equals 7, B equals 0 because it is not in there, and C equals 7. We then get the quadratic formula, which is 0 plus or minus the square root of 0 squared minus 4 times 7 times 7, all over 2 times 7. So again, you want to put that into your calculator. And we get 0 plus or minus the square root of negative 196 all over 14. And if you remember from Tuesday, if you have a negative in the square root, it is automatically no solution. So if you go ahead and plug that equation into Desmos, it will not touch the x-axis, hinting there is no solution. Go ahead and flip that page over to example 4. Let's take a look at number 4. It says the height of the pebble h in feet after t seconds is given by the equation. How long after the pebble is thrown will it hit the ground? So how long after the pebble is thrown will it hit the ground? So that is also asking when or what will t equal when h equals 0. So we want to plug h or 0 in for h. And we get 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 12t plus 1,700. So we have multiple options. We could factor this, we could plug it into the graph, or we could plug it into the quadratic formula. I personally would like to plug this into the quadratic formula. So we have A equals -16, B equals 12, C equals 1,700. So for our quadratic formula, we get T equals -b, which is 12, plus or minus the square root. Make it a long square root because this is a long problem. 12 squared minus 4 times -16 times 1,700 all over 2 -16. And if you plug everything into your calculator, you get -12 plus or minus the square root of 108,944. That's a crazy number, all over -32. So if we go ahead and we take and split that up into -12 plus the square root of 108,944 over 32 and -12 minus the square root of 108,944 all divided by 32. And go ahead and take a moment and calculate that and approximate the decimal. So for the top one, I got just kidding, I messed those up. So for the adding one, I got 10.6896, and for the subtracting one, I got -9.9396. So one thing to make clear here is this is time. And we obviously can't have negative time. I mean, it would be cool if we could time travel, but we can't. So this bottom one obviously doesn't make sense. So we have to stick with our gut and say that T equals 10.6896 seconds. And that is basically 11 seconds for the pebble to hit the ground. So it looks like you guys have 4 problems for homework. Good luck, and I will see you later.